There's a woman in Minnesota who ate nothing but gas station food for 30 days, lost 20 pounds. A guy in Kansas did the opposite, obsessed over organic kale, quinoa, measured every calorie, gained 15. And somewhere right now, someone's doing everything the internet tells them to do, and the scale hasn't budged in 6 months. Here's what nobody's telling you. Your body is actively working against your weight loss efforts, not because it hates you, because it thinks you're dying. And until you understand why your own biology has declared war on your diet, you're going to keep losing the same battle over and over again. What I'm about to show you isn't another diet hack. It's the reason every diet hack eventually stops working. Act 1. The betrayal. Let's start with something that happened in 1944 that explains why you can't lose weight in 2025. 36 men volunteered for an experiment at the University of Minnesota. They weren't overweight. They were healthy, normal guys who wanted to help understand starvation so aid workers could help famine victims after World War II. For 6 months, researchers cut their calories in half, just 1,600 calories a day, which, by the way, is more than most modern diet plans recommend. What happened next should terrify anyone who's ever counted calories. These men became obsessed with food. They dreamed about it. They collected recipes they couldn't cook. Some started hoarding random objects. One guy chopped off 3 of his own fingers with an axe and couldn't remember doing it. Their metabolisms crashed by 40%. When the experiment ended and they could eat freely again, they couldn't stop. They ate until they were in physical pain, then kept eating. This was called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment, and it revealed something darker than anyone expected. When you restrict calories, your brain rewrites itself. You don't just get hungry, you become a different person. But here's the twist that connects to you right now. Those men were eating 1,600 calories. That woman you follow on Instagram who does daily workout posts, she's probably eating less. That fitness influencer selling meal plans, definitely eating less. The diet industry has normalized a level of restriction that researchers in the 1940s used to simulate starvation. Your body can't tell the difference between a diet and a famine. Act 2. The conspiracy your body is running. So what exactly is your body doing when you cut calories? First, it slams the brakes on your metabolism, but not the way you think. Everyone talks about metabolic slowdown like it's this vague thing. It's not vague at all. Your body has a specific playbook, and it's brutal. Within 72 hours of calorie restriction, your leptin levels crash. Leptin is the hormone that tells your brain, we have enough energy stored, we're good. When leptin drops, your brain doesn't think, oh, we're on a diet. It thinks, we're in trouble, shut down everything non-essential. Your thyroid hormones drop. Your sex hormones drop. Your body temperature decreases, not enough to notice, but enough to burn fewer calories. Your NEAT goes down. NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is just a fancy way of saying all the tiny movements you make throughout the day. Fidgeting, gesturing, shifting in your chair. You do less of all of it unconsciously. One study found that people burned up to 500 fewer calories per day just from reduced NEAT, and they had no idea it was happening. But the real kicker? Your body gets more efficient at storing fat. After calorie restriction, the enzyme that stores fat in your cells, it's called lipoprotein lipase, becomes more active. Your body literally gets better at holding on to every calorie you eat. This is why just eat less is possibly the worst weight loss advice in human history. It's like telling someone to hold their breath longer to improve their lung capacity. You're fighting against a biological system that's been refined over millions of years to keep you alive during food shortages. Act 3. The Sleep Thief. Now, here's where it gets wild. Let's say you're doing everything right, eating well, exercising, but there's this one thing you're not fixing, and it's sabotaging everything: sleep. When you sleep less than 7 hours a night, your body produces more ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and less leptin. In one study, people who slept 4 hours produced so much ghrelin they wanted to eat 300 more calories the next day. But it wasn't 300 calories of broccoli they craved. It was specifically carbs and sugar. Your sleep-deprived brain literally changes what foods look appealing. Scientists did brain scans of sleep-deprived people and showed them pictures of food. The reward centers of their brains lit up like fireworks for high-calorie foods, but barely responded to healthy options. Sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired, it makes you biologically programmed to seek out exactly the foods that will derail your progress. But here's the part that nobody talks about. Stress and sleep are locked in a death spiral with your weight. When you don't sleep, your cortisol goes up. High cortisol tells your body to store fat, especially around your midsection. It also makes you insulin resistant, which means the carbs you eat are more likely to be stored as fat instead of burned for energy. And when you're stressed about not losing weight, that stress produces more cortisol. You're stuck in a biological trap. One woman I read about was eating 1,200 calories a day, working out 6 days a week, and couldn't lose a pound. Her doctor finally checked her cortisol levels. They were through the roof. She was a lawyer working 70-hour weeks, sleeping 5 hours a night. The moment she prioritized sleep, literally just sleeping 7 to 8 hours, she started losing weight without changing anything else. Act 4. The food that isn't food. Okay, so metabolism is sabotaging you, sleep is sabotaging you. Now let me introduce you to the thing that's sabotaging you more than anything else, and you probably ate it today. Ultra-processed food. Not processed like frozen vegetables or canned beans. Ultra-processed. Foods that have been so thoroughly broken down and reconstructed that they barely resemble anything from nature. If you look at the ingredient list and see more than 5 things you can't pronounce, that's probably it. In 2019, researchers did something brilliant. They took 20 people and fed them 2 different diets for 2 weeks each. Both diets had the same calories, same macros, protein, carbs, fat, same sugar, same fiber, same everything. The only difference? One diet was whole foods, the other was ultra-processed. On the ultra-processed diet, people ate 500 more calories per day without trying. They gained 2 pounds in 2 weeks. On the whole food diet, they naturally ate less and lost 2 pounds. Same calories available, completely different results. Why? Because ultra-processed foods are designed to bypass your satiety signals. The combination of fat, sugar, salt, and specific textures hits your brain's reward centers in a way that whole foods simply don't. These foods are literally engineered to make you want more. Food scientists call it the bliss point, the precise combination of ingredients that maximizes craving. And here's the dark part. Companies spend millions figuring out how to make food as addictive as possible without technically being addictive, because if they cross that line, they have legal problems. You're not lacking willpower. You're up against teams of scientists with PhDs whose entire job is to make sure you can't eat just one. Act 5. The gut plot twist. But even ultra-processed foods aren't the full story, because there's an entire ecosystem living inside you that has opinions about what you eat and how much you weigh. Your gut microbiome. You have trillions of bacteria in your intestines. Some of them help you extract nutrients from food. Others help regulate your immune system, produce neurotransmitters, and, here's the crazy part, influence how much fat you store. Researchers took gut bacteria from obese mice and put them in thin mice. The thin mice got fat. They took gut bacteria from thin mice and put them in obese mice. The obese mice lost weight. Same food, different bacteria, different results. In humans, people with more diverse gut bacteria tend to be leaner and healthier. People with less diverse bacteria, often because of antibiotic use, stress, or eating the same processed foods repeatedly, tend to struggle more with weight. Your gut bacteria also produce short-chain fatty acids when they digest fiber. These fatty acids tell your body to burn fat instead of storing it, reduce inflammation, and improve insulin sensitivity. But if you're not eating enough fiber, and most people aren't, your bacteria can't do this. The average American eats about 15 grams of fiber a day. We need at least 30. Some traditional populations that rarely deal with obesity eat 60 to 100 grams daily. One guy documented his experience eating more fiber. Within 2 weeks, he noticed he felt fuller after meals, had fewer cravings, and his energy was more stable. Within a month, he'd lost 8 pounds without changing his calorie intake. This isn't magic, it's biology. Feed your bacteria what they need, and they'll help you instead of fighting you. Act 6. The Exercise Paradox. Here's something that's going to sound wrong, but it's true. Exercise is terrible for weight loss. Wait, let me clarify before you close this video. Exercise is incredible for your health. It reduces your risk of practically every major disease, improves your mental health, builds muscle, strengthens bones. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself. But for pure weight loss, it's surprisingly ineffective on its own. Here's why. Let's say you run for 30 minutes. You might burn 300 calories, maybe 400 if you're really pushing it. That's less than a single fast food burger. And studies show that when people start exercising, they often unconsciously compensate by eating a bit more or moving less throughout the rest of the day. There's also something called metabolic compensation. Your body adapts to exercise by becoming more efficient, so the same workout burns fewer calories over time. One study tracked people who started running regularly. After a year, they were burning significantly fewer calories per mile than when they started. But here's the twist. The right kind of exercise can change everything. Not because it burns tons of calories, but because it changes your body composition. Muscle tissue burns more calories at rest than fat tissue. When you build muscle through resistance training, you're increasing your resting metabolic rate. You're burning more calories 24 hours a day, even while you sleep. Plus, muscle makes you more insulin sensitive, which means your body handles carbs better and stores less fat. It improves your hormone profile, reduces inflammation, and makes daily activities easier, which means you naturally move more. The people who successfully keep weight off long-term almost all do some form of resistance training, not because they're burning it off in the gym, because they're changing what their body does with the food they eat. Conclusion: the real answer. So why can't you lose weight? Because you've been lied to. You've been told it's about willpower, discipline, eating less and moving more. But your body doesn't care about your willpower. It cares about survival. And right now, it thinks you're under threat. The real answer isn't a single fix. It's addressing the systems that are broken. Sleep 7 to 9 hours, not because it's nice, but because sleep deprivation literally reprograms your hunger hormones. Manage your stress, because chronic cortisol is actively storing fat on your body. Eat mostly whole foods, not because they're virtuous, but because they don't hijack your brain's reward system. Feed your gut bacteria with fiber so they can help you instead of hurt you. Give your insulin a break by not eating constantly. Build muscle so your metabolism works for you instead of against you. None of this is sexy. There's no quick fix here, no magic pill, no 7-day transformation. But here's what you get instead: a body that's not fighting you anymore, a metabolism that works, hunger signals that make sense, energy that's stable, weight that comes off and actually stays off. The Minnesota starvation experiment proved that your body will fight calorie restriction with everything it has. So stop fighting your body, start working with it. Your body isn't broken, it's doing exactly what millions of years of evolution designed it to do. The problem is, we're living in a world it wasn't designed for. Once you understand that, everything changes. The question isn't, why can't you lose weight? It's, what's your body trying to tell you? And maybe, just maybe, it's time to listen.